In this episode, I connected with a colleague of mine who is based in Utah, who is in the technical space and he's in software. And he has been using a tool that I'd love for you to hear this conversation. Not for technical people, it's for business people just like yourself, just like myself, who wants to get ahead with productivity and process. And I can't wait for you to listen to him as we talk about this tool and how he's used it to grow and how you could actually use it as well. Before we jump into the show, though, I'd love for you to subscribe, like, and review. Those are the three things that we ask of you. When you do that, actually helps us to understand what kind of content and conversation that we ought to be having. So, without further ado, folks, I would love to introduce you to my business colleague based out based out in Utah, um, Anthony Lagoon. Let's go. Anthony, welcome to my show. It's so good to have you, brother. How are you?
Good. How are you? It's so good to be here.
Good. I'm doing great, man. It's been quite a roller coaster with these extreme weather that we're learning about, and you're up in Utah, right? And
That's
so
right.
you were just sharing with me earlier about some of the conditions up there, but I don't think my listeners want to hear much about the weather, so we're gonna go in and chat with you. So why don't we start with telling us who you are and what you do?
Awesome. Well, I'm Anthony Lagoon. I'm a designer and photographer, and I do a little bit of front end development, but ultimately, the more important thing is I started a creative agency that we've just been growing over the last few years. We've been around for 10 years, actually. And we build a lot of apps and websites that millions of people use every day. And we just have a really fun time just making it as high end and high quality as possible. So
That's awesome. Congratulations. 10 years. That's a kid walking and talking and everything. That's amazing. So how did you get to this point? Like, did you always wanted to be in the creative space? Like, talk to us about the journey to now.
yeah, well, I mean, it started out just doing freelance and growing a little here and there. And I realized, it like after being successful at multiple different like side projects and initiatives, like the thing that really set us apart, sorry, I'm all over the place. You're gonna
No,
have to
you're
cut that
fine. We're chatting. No worries. No worries.
out. Yeah, so I got into it obviously in high school, like just playing around with Photoshop
Yeah.
and started doing projects for friends and family. But ultimately, it started to grow to the point where I started getting a lot of work requests every single week, and I couldn't handle them all. I was actually working remote for a company or for a startup where they were all over the U.S. And I realized like I loved working with them and I loved working remote, but I wanted to work with people and really like do the like unblock my creativity and have all the tools and the resources. So as you can might be able to see here, unless you're listening, we've got a lot of photography equipment. We've got a whole dev team. We just do a whole bunch of really custom work. So we've grown. I started hiring my friends, and then we ended up growing much more beyond that. And we started doing work for larger and larger companies, and ultimately we ended up doing a lot of work for a number of years with Facebook and even Netflix and boosted boards. So we do we do a lot of work. And now I don't know how we got here, but I ended up in 10,000 businesses, which is how I met you, which has been
Yeah.
a really great organization that has really helped us get to the next level. So
Awesome, awesome. And big shout out to 10K Speed. Goldman Sachs has developed this amazing program. And if you have not heard about it yet, listeners, go check it out. Goldman Sachs, 10K Speed apply.com. I think that's the name. That's the
yeah.
URL. But that's how we got connected. And yeah, you've got some cool things going on. So when we initially had talked, we talked about a tool that you think our listeners should know about, and if they can lean into it, it perhaps will help them to grow. So, what are we going to be talking about? Tell us about this tool, and give us the whole 9 yards, as I usually say about it.
Yeah, so I started posting online about Airtable, and I was just curious of like what are other people doing with it that's allowing them to grow their businesses or improve their efficiencies. Um, from what we do, we offer very custom design and development, which is both really great, but sometimes it can be really expensive. And so when even as I'm building our own internal tooling for our team, say, you know, when a work request comes in, how does that filter through the teams? How do we make sure we can estimate it and manage the projects right? Like there's a lot of tools out there, whether it's Asana or, you know, a number of task management tools. But what I've realized is I looked at my team and I noticed that we had spreadsheets like crazy, and I'm watching some people add information here and copy and paste it over there, and having a meeting just to find a spreadsheet error. And I realized we have all these great tools, but they're not talking to each other. And so that's one thing that I found, that like Airtable has really freed me up to and our team up to be able to automate a ton of processes within the company and really let us focus on what really matters, which is doing great work for our clients. So I've been just really excited about what Airtable has brought to the table.
Awesome. So you've used Airtable to really help you to just take control of your processes and in across all of your organization, pretty much.
Yeah, so everything from like our sales funnel, where a request comes in, we're like trying to keep track of where are all the projects at, what clients are we talking to, how long did we reach out to them. Yes, we have a CRM and we're managing it with that. But when it comes to our teams knowing what projects are we looking at and on the runway, what does our potential roadmap look like? Now using Airtable, I can map those over the next month to 3 months, and the teams can see the upcoming workload, which helps them make decisions like, when should we take PTO? Should we hire? Should we not hire? And so now that I'm passing the potential work request in Airtable, I'm able to graph that and give my team access to see what that looks like, and even help our sales team, you know, find the appropriate solution for clients or to close those deals. And so we just keep busy and be focused on the work.
Oh, that's amazing. And a lot of people probably think, and people might be listening, thinking that your table is probably like for like technical people, and if you want to build some kind of digital product or software, but you've used it for so non-technical reasons. So tell us a little bit about sort of like who in your opinion could use this tool. Like, could it just be just some entrepreneur that's maybe in the food business, or do they have to be in software? Tell us a little about who would be a good fit, who you think could use this tool.
Yeah, so the way I think about Airtable is kind of like a spreadsheet, although that's also the most confusing thing for most people is they use a Google document or a numbers or spreadsheet, Excel, and then they start experimenting with Airtable, and it just kind of breaks down. So they're not the same thing because it's so much more robust. So who can use it, and why would they use it? So I would say for a business owner or a small business owner, it really allows you to create automation in your workflow and pretty easily connect to the tools that your team needs, without having to hire developers. And you can tweak some of those settings as far as like, uh, if you use Slack, do you use Slack?
Yeah, I use Slack for sure.
Yeah. So, you know, you get an email, it can scan that email, find out if it's a certain type of work request or if it's just somebody looking for a job, and it can add that to a certain workflow, right?
Mm.
If you're a restaurant owner, you might be able to help it help manage your team's hours or staffing, and to make sure that you've got a backup for every position. You could do a number of different things with it. Um, whereas a spreadsheet is more storing the information, and maybe you can do a little like a couple things here and there, but you have to really know spreadsheets. With Airtable, it's basically like the back end and the database. If you were to build your own app custom, you could hire a company like Underbelly, and we could really build you anything. but it's going to require a whole dev team, front-end engineers, back-end engineers, and then designers to figure out how do you actually interface with things and what's the login flow look like. Well, Airtable kind of removes a lot of that. And so what I'm looking for, or we're looking forward to, is using these kind of like low code tools to help small businesses that just have a very small budget, and get, like, say you, Ricardo, like, if you came to us to help automate some of your marketing, we could set up an interface for your team to log into, and you'd save a ton of money, because if you can just go in the back end of your own Airtable, you could modify some of the rules, you can work in there, and that means that I don't have to hire designers to design the whole admin interface and set up the rules. Or if you want to make a small change, you don't have to reach out to us just to make a small edit or a small change. Additionally, if you have a website, so I guess anyone who has a website nowadays, this could be really good for, because I've been experimenting with using Airtable to connect to like as a CMS, a content management system, where you could upload maybe a whole bunch of marketing campaigns, or maybe a whole bunch of portfolio case studies that you want, and have it automatically publish to your website through something like Webflow, or some other, you know, website tool, if you're not doing it fully custom. So I went like I went over a lot right there. So if I'm going too fast,
I mean, that's
tell me to
amazing.
slow down.
That's amazing. Like just the vastness of Airtable and what you can actually do it for. So anybody, you're basically saying in the organization, if you're a founder, a one-man band, or you've got a small team, like you could really lean into Airtable and make it work for you, right? And that's amazing. Now, you said something earlier, which I want to kind of go off for a little bit, and you mentioned your company's name, Underbelly. So how did you come up with the name Underbelly? What's the meaning of that? That's kind of really cool. Underbelly, is it what I'm actually thinking? Tell us about Underbelly. Like, how did it come up?
Yeah, so you know, I did freelance on the side a couple different times, and I realized, you know, the success of a creative agency really centers around just the work and the experience people have working with you. And so when I finally realized I wanted to make Underbelly, or grow a business bigger than myself, I wanted to do something unique that gave people an experience, or really just to stand out in the market, and give people just make people confused, or give people something to laugh about. So I realized I can name it whatever it was. So it's an exercise in branding. We did it through a bunch of we settled on the name through a bunch of workshops and activities, but ultimately the thing that I like about it is you can take such a negative term, something that is so dark and seedy like Underbelly, and turn it to something positive, turn it to something that's like fun and laughable and memorable. And so with good design and good brand identity, you can really influence people's thinking and mentality. And so that's what I love about our name. I often tell people I was just kayaking and a whale jumped over my kayak, and then their eyes like get wide open. Right. Unfortunately, that's not the true story. But
no, well, that's really cool though. I love how you could, I mean, that's a real custom name, right? Which is the space that you're in, just really customizing creativity and allow your creativity to just exercise itself and stretch your imagination. So that's pretty cool. I've never heard a name like that, but I did imagine a whale kind of jumping over you somewhere. I wasn't sure it was on a paddleboard, but pretty cool. But back to our subject though. So Airtable, you know, is one of those low code, no code sort of application. How is this different though from like some of the other stuff that are out there? And what are some of the other stuff that you use? And like, how do you stack up Airtable versus some of those other ones?
Yeah, so an example, I mean, it's hard to talk about Airtable because it does so much. You even go to their landing page and it's kind of seems vague because they say they can do anything. So its competitors could be a time tracking tool. right? I can go sign up for a number of time tracking tools for my team, and we're hiring right now for an hourly position. How am I going to have them track their time? Well, if I go and sign up and pay $10 a month for every user through some other tool, that's great, and it's probably built well. But then how do I get those hours to my financials so that I can kind of forecast or see what what my company not only has done through QuickBooks, but in the future. And so if you build an interface to be able to track your time that goes directly to this backend, which is Airtable, then it can talk to the rest of your organization. So you can maybe even forecast what your financials or scenario is going to be like in the future. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I see the interaction between different faculties in the business and even different departments just coming in through one. I mean, you have project management systems or task management systems that you can use, but it's really those pieces that are missing, right? Where you really can't sometimes talk to other areas in the business because it's just very focused on just getting one thing done. And Airtable is right. Like you could literally do anything with it, right?
Yeah. There's other complementary services that can kind of add that layer of interaction. So there's something called Glide Apps, which is another tool I'd recommend people look into, which is more like, think about like a no-code way to create applications. And so if you need to create a prototype or an experiment, or maybe just an internal tool that doesn't have to look amazing, but does need to add, read, write information, you can use Glide with Airtable to really have Airtable be where all the data is stored, and then Glide can be some of the buttons and the UI on the front end, and you can quickly get something that is allowing your team to sign in, to edit things, and really create tools for your team. Now, is this something that you could resell on the market as a software as a service? No, I don't think so. But can it speed up your team in a way where people aren't working in spreadsheets and they can be out of pocket because everybody's got their phone with them? So there's a lot of possibilities now, which are just really bringing down the barrier to businesses who want to have an idea for an app. Now that's a lot more possible.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. You can now see your path to growing because these barriers have been brought down. You talk about Glide just now, and I wanted to ask you about integration.
Yeah.
Just kind of like how does Airtable integrate with some of the other tools? Because we might have listeners who are using a XYZ number of tools, and it's like, oh, another tool that I have to use. It's like, okay, well, maybe you can do some integration and have this tool talk to that tool. Talk to me a little bit about some of the integration possibility that exists with Airtable today.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a great question. There's a lot of integrations for Airtable because it's really built like modern software. And so while it can get quite complex, there are some very simple built-in integrations with tools like Google Sheets or a number of common tools. For us, what we found is some of the integrations are a little bit more complex, which probably requires somebody who really knows the tools or space to connect them. But ultimately, what that's allowed us to do is cut out probably 3 or 4 tools from our tool belt because we've consolidated it to one place. And additionally, we probably cut out a number of meetings that our team has had to have on our calendars, which has allowed them to be more in the work as well, or even know things a lot quicker because we don't have to wait for a weekly or monthly report to come out. We can just pull up this web page or pull up this app, and it'll immediately show us the latest results from the team or where things are at. But yeah, it's got a lot of integrations that have been really helpful.
Sweet. I really like that. We're pretty much living in a consolidated all-in-one kind of world because there are just like so many things that are coming at us, and we really kind of like the idea of just consolidating them and or just kind of create one stuff. And that's what I hear Airtable is able to do. So let's talk a little about like an actual practical thing that you can actually do with it. Let's just pick something and kind of
Yeah.
talk through how you do it. This podcast is brought to you by MI Digital Hub. MI Digital Hub is a all-in-one 360-degree high-level experience of your digital presence on the web today. If you would like to understand where you are now, what does your digital presence look like today, visit midigitalhub.com. Gives you a full snapshot report on where you are when it comes to SEO, your performance, social media listing, your Google My Business listing. All of those things you will be able to find in a single tool like the MI Digital Hub. At the MI Digital Hub, you will be able to generate that snapshot report and manage exactly what's happening with your digital presence. So visit midigitalhub.com today. Check it out, generate your free report, and certainly dive in to see how you can make changes when it comes to your digital marketing. This podcast is brought to you by mMessenger. mMessenger is your all-in-one SMS tool to facilitate SMS messaging across 200 countries around the world. Visit mmessenger.co to learn how you can start using SMS for notifications, for alerts, for updates, whatever you'd like to share with your customers. mMessenger is the communication tool for you. mmessenger.co. Visit that location and you will be able to learn more about how you can get started today with mMessenger. This podcast is brought to you by MI Group. MI is your source for technology solutions, digital marketing, and hosting your digital assets on the web today. Visit migroupco.com to learn how you can utilize our services to help you grow your business quickly. migroupco.com to learn more.
Yeah, so let's say, for example, there's one client that came to us and they really wanted something more as a software as a service, something they could resell. But they didn't have necessarily the largest budget. And so what we were able to do for them is really take a semi-custom approach where normally we would build a custom front end and back end and build a whole product for them. It might cost, upwards of $200,000 to $300,000 or something. But for using Airtable as the back end, it gave them an admin interface. The problem they were trying to solve is basically a small business kind of hiring problem, where you've got funnels and flows, and there's a lot of apps, but nothing was particularly working for their business and approach. And so what we're able to do is get them set up in Airtable, and then we built a custom front end where people can log in. And as candidates are applying and moving through the flow, they integrated with Google Gmail. And so they're able to send emails through the system when a candidate was either approved or got to a certain stage. We were able to integrate with Twilio and also build a couple custom webhooks. So we could do a couple additional things around scheduling. But what this allowed us to do is to build a candidate pipeline for them that could help them really scale their operations, because they were like kind of bursting at the seams, and they didn't really want to move to some of the just typical general hiring tools that are available. So that has so far worked really well for them, and they're scaling really fast. But yeah.
Nice. And for our listeners, what's Twilio? You mentioned that. What is Twilio?
Yeah. So Twilio is another third-party service that allows you to send text messages. So with this app, they're able to communicate through text message, email, and really build a custom, basically a Kanban board or flow of how people work through candidates.
Nice. Awesome. So and so for our listeners, how can they actually access this tool? I mean, do we just go to airtable.com and just sign up for an account? Do we have to pay? Like, do we have to call you first? Like, how do we access this tool?
Yeah. Anyone can sign up for an Airtable account. I am not getting paid by Airtable, but I should. I forget what the pricing model is, but it's really, I think, around users and usage. But yeah, go to airtable.com and check out. I think you can create a free base too, which is pretty cool. So if you don't need some of the advanced functionality, you can try it out and see if it works and really kind of get your feet wet with it.
Awesome. Yeah, and we have to use Airtable too, so we do know there's like a free version that you can use. It's limited, but you can go in and take a dive and test things out. And a big plug to Airtable. If you are actually listening and you know anything about Airtable, or you work at Airtable, or you are the creator of Airtable, we would like to actually talk with you, and just to confirm what Anthony's saying, because I know like he's super sharp, but I think if you are listening and you are from Airtable, that you might be able to come in and support that, help us out. So reach out to us. Anthony, I know staying in business, how long you been in business now again? 10 years,
Yeah,
right?
10 years.
10 years, and I know that that must not be easy, or probably would be easy because like you're a super sharp guy, so you'll never know, right? But I know that staying in business for that long is not easy. Well, my question for you is, how have you actually done it, and what would you say has been the best thing that has happened to you in this journey?
Oof. Uh, yeah, I learn something new every single day. I would say, how did I get here is just having really great people along my side. Like we still have the first couple of people that we hired. They're still on our team. A lot of other people have come and gone, but I started this business to work with good people, and really all the credit goes to them. Other than that, I am super thankful for people like you who create awesome podcasts like this, who are just sharing. The community online is awesome. You can really find out different ways to tackle any problem online and through the community. So yeah, absolutely, and thankful for that. But
That's
ultimately, yeah, just focusing on doing good work.
that's awesome. So it's good people, good work, and just focus, right? That's some nice lessons to take away from this. um as you talk about sort of people, something just came to my mind. I'm like, man, so for everybody it's always about the talent. Like everything is made up of good people and talent. And it's like, where do you find all these good people? Like, where are they? It's because we're all searching from the same source. And you're getting the good ones and we're probably not getting good ones. Like, where are you searching for them? Where do you get
Yeah,
these good people from?
yeah. It's really being involved with communities is the biggest point. One thing that's unique about Underbelly is we've often taken on interns or people who just haven't had an opportunity. And honestly, that's the thing I love most about this job, is giving people an opportunity and just seeing them just crush it. And so we've brought on a lot of employees and people who we've just taken under our wing and mentored and showed the ropes, as well as taken on clients who maybe like they have a budget, but it's really not enough to get them where they want. And we can make recommendations on how they can achieve what the outcome is that they're looking for, but really giving people the tools and the opportunity to grow. So, but of course, if you're just looking for new applicants, I know the market is insanely hard right now. But being involved in the communities and posting in those communities and just being honest and real and genuine with people, that's been the biggest thing that has, I think, helped with us both in terms of marketing and sourcing good candidates.
Sweet, sweet. And how many people are we talking about? How many people do you actually have in your org?
Yeah, we're just around 20 right now.
Sweet, awesome. Hey man, so is there anything that I did not ask you that you'd like to share with us today?
Oh, that's a good question. No, nothing comes to mind in particular.
Okay, I love it that my questions are so good that it keeps you pausing for a minute. Well, I have some stuff that I want to ask you as we wrap this up. I love to know about books and podcasts that or guests that comes on the show is actually leaning into. So, what are the books that you may have read or reading, and what are some podcasts that you actually hang out listening to?
Awesome. That's a great question. Uh, I would say one that I'm really into right now is I think we're at this point where we've been growing so much. I realized that I need to get better as a leader. And so I've been reading a lot on coaching and giving advice and asking good questions. So I'd say two books that come to mind is Great Leaders Ask Great Questions, I think by John C. Maxwell. And then The Advice Trap was another book that I've been reading. Because I fall into that where I just always, jump in and try and give people advice when really I should let them figure out the problems on their own and just kind of coach them through it. So
Awesome. And podcasts? What about podcasts?
ooh, so many. Oh man. See, now that I'm thinking about it, nothing comes to mind. I would say the Craig Rochelle Leadership Podcast is one that I find myself going to. I don't know if it's because the form factor is like a good 15-20 minutes, but there's some good nuggets on there. As a designer, a product designer, the Design Details Podcast is another one that I love listening to.
Cool. Yeah, and you probably should listen to Ideacast, which is a cool podcast too that's produced by the guys over at Harvard. I think it's Harvard Business Review or so that produces it. I think for like technical folks like us who are building stuff, just hearing problems that people are like kind of having, they're just really like nice clues to building things, right? Because they always present solutions. So that's amazing. Well, thank you, man. I really appreciate you jumping in on this and sharing your knowledge about Airtable with us. We are always looking for creators and master users like yourself of tools or systems or framework that has helped you grow and would love to share with others so that they can also grow. Any recommendations? Anyone come to mind of who next we should be talking to? I mean, apart from Airtable, which we're going to reach out, but anybody else that comes to mind that you think we should be, having on our show?
Yeah, hold on, let me think on that one for a second. I should have wrote down some notes, so my apologies.
Well, we'll catch up. What we'll do, we'll catch up with you and kind of maybe shoot you a follow up, and then maybe in our next episode we'll talk about some of those guys. But definitely, we want to grab some of those folks from your notes and see how we can bring them on to talk about awesome stuff. But this has been really great. I appreciate your time on this and coming in to share with us today. Thank you so much.
Hey, Ricardo, I appreciate you having me on your show. And we don't do the marketing end of things. So while we may overlap on like some websites or marketing materials, I'll definitely have to keep in touch on that and reach out if we have some needs or have clients who have needs. So
absolutely. All right, man. So good looking out. We will see you and we'll talk to you. We'll follow up with you to see how you're doing. Maybe a few months or so, because you're big timer, Facebook and Netflix, and who knows, you might into Amazon, and those are like easy ropes for you. So we'll check in with you just to see how you're doing. But love what you're doing, and congrats, and
likewise.
And we'll stay in touch.
Awesome.
That was Anthony Lagoon from Underbelly out of Utah. What an amazing conversation. Guy really knows his stuff, and he's been doing some amazing work out there. I hope you took away from this conversation some good gems and some good things that you can apply into your business, and check the tool out if you're interested. Always be curious. That's something, just kind of ABC. Always be curious, and you will be able to lean into some things that you just never knew. You just never know existed, right? So folks, we're going to wrap this up, but before we go, don't forget to like, review, and subscribe to us, and we will be bringing you another show pretty shortly. So until next time, remember, don't forget to choose a tool to help you rule your growth. Talk soon.